with liberty and justice for all.
Would the members of the City Council please introduce themselves, starting on my far right?
Peter Kelly, Greg Hahn,
Mary Fortier.
Dave Proleski,
Dave Mills.
Josh Maduros.
And I'm Mayor Ellen Zappo-Sasu. Tonight we are here for a public hearing of the Bristol City Council. It is 6 p.m. as called in the newspapers and advertisements on August 15th. The purpose of this meeting is to review and discuss the following. Per Section 18-192 of the Bristol Code of Ordinances, an ordinance authorizing the creation of the Downtown Bristol Tax Increment Financing District and adopting the Downtown Bristol Tax Increment Financing District Master Plan for the district. Just a quick review of this for those of you who are here. The proposed Downtown Bristol Tax Increment Financing District is Census Tract number 4061. This encompasses approximately 360 acres in the downtown area of Bristol, bounded by starting at the intersection of South Street Extension, South Street, West Street, and Wolcott Street on the west, and a northerly direction by West Street, by the northernmost boundary by Route 6, North Street, by the easterly boundary in a southerly direction by Maple Street and Bellevue Avenue until the intersection of Bellevue and High, and then bounded by High to the intersection of Queen, which is all of this is on Federal Hill, and it continues to Blakesley, to Down Street, crossing the Boulevard and Riverside Avenue, continuing to the south, bounded by Down Street and the eastern side of South Street, along the southern limits by South Street to the intersection of South Street Extension, Wolcott Road and West Street, which is Route 69, all as more specifically depicted in the map that accompanied the master plan and the notice of this meeting. So at this point, we have invited people to convey their sentiments either through written format or through public comment. So first, before we enter the letters that we have received in written format, I would like to ask if there are members of the public who would like to address the City Council in terms of this public hearing to come forward. Please identify yourself with name and your address. And at this point, because we are under slight time restrictions, I am going to ask people to limit their comments to 3 minutes at the beginning, and as time allows, we will revisit additional comments as available. We have another meeting in this room at 6:40. Is there anybody that would like to address the City Council from the members of the public concerning our TIF proposal?
Good evening, Cheryl Tebow, 73 Yard Drive, Forestville and Bristol. Thank you for having this hearing. Since this introduction, I've spent a lot of time researching and downloading articles, case studies, and examples of where TIF was used across the country. I think it's allowed in just about 48 states, I think I had read or something. I think Arizona's a lone holdout or something like that. And it's allowed in Connecticut. And yes, well, I agree that our BDA needs a lot of tools in the toolbox. I came away with a lot of pros and I came away with a lot of cons, and I was kind of on the middle of the road for the longest time. But a couple things that really stood with me is that in many of these cases, these towns that developed TIF areas found that they probably could have attracted those same businesses to their community. It might not have been in the TIF location, but they could have found, using some of the tools already at their disposal, they could have had. Another article highlighted that it picks winners and losers. Okay, and that's something has always bothered me, is when we pick a winner, it's a detriment to many of our existing maybe mom and pops or other retailers or businesses that are in the stores that don't get that same advantage. But lastly, and putting on my Board of Finance hat, I'm a protector of our funding that benefits fire, police, schools, and so forth. And a TIF district allows the increases in the grand list and the benefit from that to stay in that area. And so what happens is the balance of the taxpayers end up supplementing the cost associated. Say there's a lot of extra students that come into you might have a mix or with some housing, and those students need to be educated, but there's no school in the TIF area, so the educational costs go up. So there's a lot of cost that is historically been in these studies that the balance of the taxpayers had to pick up to make the city have those resources available. the TIF did not cover it all. And lastly, this is one of the things that a couple of the communities that entered into TIF found their bond rating decreased. Okay, and as you know, I love to guard our bond rating. We have a very attractive, positive bond rating that has enabled us to get financing at significantly less interest rates. So I just wanted to share those. There's plenty of studies. I'm sure you've read them all. And I don't want to begrudge the BDA, but I really feel that the cons outweigh the pros in this particular situation. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lewis, did you want to address the council?
Yes, I would like to. I don't know if you want to. Did you want to read your letters that got sent in first, and then you can give me more than 3 minutes if you have time?
You can certainly have more than 3 minutes because we're tracking on schedule, but if you'd like to make your remarks first, we're going to do written out.
I wasn't sure what. I wasn't clear on your comment about limited time. Okay. I've been following the legislation since 2015 with the TIF Act in the state of Connecticut. So I was a little bit concerned when I saw the city of Bristol was adopting a TIF plan, and I looked through the TIF plan and I found a lot of blank pages. For example, on page 4, table 2, as infrastructure improvements, there's a spot for the cost. And I understand this is just a draft on the city website, but this is what's supposed to be open for public review before a public hearing. And so total cost for infrastructure improvements is a blank. On page 5, land development, acquisition, relocations costs is a blank also. So it makes me wonder, exactly what are you looking at for land acquisition? How much funds are you looking for that? Let me refer to look at this page 3 of the Act. It says our thing says also on page 6, other economic development projects and programs. Any other projects or programs deemed important for the economic development improvements within the downtown Bristol TIF district, subject to eligibility requirements of the TIF Act. TIF Act says on page 3 for me, section 2, subparagraph 1, to acquire, construct, reconstruct, improve, preserve, alter, extend, operate, or maintain, or promote development intended to meet the objectives of the TIF master plan. The municipality may acquire property, land, or easements through negotiation or by other means authorized by municipalities under the general statutes. We all know the city is empowered to use eminent domain in blighted areas. That's the reason why this area has been designated as an opportunity zone, is because it's blighted. Do we agree on that?
It's one of the reasons, not the only reason.
Okay, yes. One of the reasons. I didn't mean to imply it was the only reason. Okay, so I think the public should know. Where are you going with this? Do you know? Is Pfizer coming in? Is ESPN coming back to Bristol? I mean, I think the public, are we just making open-ended plans so that who knows is Renaissance going to come back to Bristol and say, hey, we want to build an apartment building? People might want to know that before we adopt a plan. On page 7, flow of funds. There's a chart that says that TIF debt is backed by a municipality. Does the public know this? Does the public know debt is at all connected to this whatsoever? I don't think they do. I'm quite confident they don't. Page 12, credit enhancement agreements. Again, transparency issue we have here. Do people understand that these, I'm going to call them loans just for the sake of not having a better term on the tip of my tongue, but do people know that these loans are going to be taxpayer backed? Has the public been informed of that at all? And then that's pretty much it. I mean, I have these questions. I'm going to ask them during the hearing, not during the city council meeting, because I think it's important that before anybody votes on this, that the public be informed and know what's going on. I came to the city council, your first city council meeting, when you were brought in as mayor. I asked, where are we going with housing in the downtown? I didn't get a response. Nobody reached out to me. And I already know, the city already has a plan of conservation development. This is made out, if you read the newspaper article about TIF, it does not paint a picture to the public that illustrates what we're doing and how we're going about doing it. As far as anybody's concerned, there's just extra tax money going to an account that's going to be loaned out. That's not how the act is written, and there's a bunch of holes in this draft plan. So are we going to have a finalized plan that goes before the public, beforehand? Are property owners that are in this district going to be directly contacted to be informed about what's going on in the district? Those are my concerns. At this point, I don't agree that we should move forward with anything until the public is informed. And that's all I have to say about it at this time.
Okay.
Until the city council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we do have some letters that we have received, and Justin, maybe it would be appropriate now for you to do a little overview and maybe reference those letters so that we can have them into the record as well.
Yeah, actually, so we started working on TIF over a year ago at this point, so I wanted to be able to reach out to folks sort of in my colleagues of mine, but also developers and others that I know to do some due diligence on TIF. A couple of those folks became aware of the public hearing and just wanted to be able to state their support of TIF. So, Teresa, I know you have the two letters I gave you, one from Rendina and one from Connecticut Main Street Center. Is that appropriate for? Okay.
Well, I think in direct reference to some of the comments raised by Mr. Russ, I think the conversation that we had with the officials from Rendina last week at the hospital beam signing and their excitement over the TIF plan might make it warranted. As a first person involved in downtown, maybe we could at least read that letter, which may address some of these concerns. And then we also, for the purposes, there is a letter on file and available online from the Main Street. What's their new name?
Connecticut Main Street Center.
Connecticut Main Street Center, expressing support for it as well and referencing success stories within Connecticut, which we thought were important and applicable as well. But the Rendina one interests me based on what they were saying to us last Thursday. So it's good that they memorialized it, and I think it would be appropriate if you did read that one into the record.
I can read the letter. It says, Dear Mayor Zalpo Sasu and members of the Bristol City Council, the positive energy and momentum surrounding the redevelopment of downtown Bristol were very evident earlier this week at the beam signing ceremony for the new Bristol Hospital Ambulatory Care Center. Again, we are honored and very excited to be playing part in the revitalization of downtown Bristol. By the way, the author here is Brian Chick, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Rendina. In addition to our great relationship with Bristol Hospital, the City of Bristol played a critical role in moving our project forward as a first step toward downtown redevelopment. Adoption of the TIF district for downtown Bristol would be a further important signal from the city to developers that the City of Bristol is committed to realizing the goal of a vibrant, thriving downtown Bristol. It will also keep Bristol competitive with the other Connecticut municipalities that are certain to take advantage of the TIF program and institute their own local TIF districts. Based upon our national experience in developing 7.5 million square feet of healthcare facilities over the past 30-plus years, we have seen firsthand that a TIF district will spur the type of further development that the city is looking to secure in downtown Bristol. The availability and quality of necessary infrastructure are primary considerations to making the decision to invest in a redevelopment area. Bristol's TIF district will be the tool to provide that needed infrastructure and will enable the city to partner with developers to promote lasting growth in downtown Bristol. Our experience has also shown us that TIF programs are particularly successful in instances where, like Bristol, they are implemented in a targeted fashion in support of the larger development objectives of a municipality. We have developed projects and brought state-of-the-art healthcare facilities to historically underserved areas where TIF or similar programs were available to provide needed infrastructure to support the project. For example, our recent downtown redevelopment project in Bayonne, New Jersey, was spurred by the availability of TIF funding. As a result, a previously underserved population in Bayonne is receiving quality health care in a brand-new facility that stands in place of what was a dilapidated city block. Based upon our prior national development experience, and as a proud new stakeholder in the success of downtown Bristol, we would urge the adoption of the TIF district to further accelerate the city's positive momentum and to ensure the success of the city's downtown redevelopment strategy.
Thank you. Do we have any TIF projects in the pipeline right now?
We don't have anything documented. I've taken the liberty of speaking about TIF with folks in the community, and actually it's part of the process. It's part of our process in working with our consultants to bring in some developers to talk about TIF and kind of what it is. It's a really difficult concept to wrap your head around within just a few minutes, right? So it took a while. But I can tell you both of them were very open to it. One particular developer, I think, was impressed at the possibilities of TIF from a credit enhancement agreement perspective. We have incentives that we have in Bristol, thank goodness we do, and we have been pretty successful in using them. This is a different type. It allows us to create incentives for a private project that might be a little longer in time, right? Developers, oftentimes their financing terms are over 15, maybe 20 years, maybe longer. To date, we haven't necessarily had the opportunity or incentive that could be strung out over that length of time. Lending institutions would want to see that, right? The debt has to be serviced for the entire length of the loan. If the developer can say that they're working with the city on maybe a different source of revenue for the project, and it would last the length of the term of the loan, that could be interesting from that perspective. But obviously, to Brian's points here as well, the infrastructure piece and ensuring that the city has the ability to continue to reinvest in a district that's frankly not playing on a level playing field is another element of TIF, and it's kind of.
So the good news is it's an infrastructure potential. So we don't have calculations, which may or may not be the reason why some of those pages are blank, because they're examples, but we don't have anything in the pipeline. But it's a tool that we're going to be able to use, and that we have floated to potential interested parties who have approached us about other downtown sites. Is that a fair characterization?
I floated the potential of this in the future. And actually, I need to get with Mr. Ruest and make sure we have the most updated information online. There is a draft it's actually the date is June 4th, that has a lot of those blanks filled in with the help from our Public Works Division. So I 100% take responsibility if that's not the version online, and we'll switch it out tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you very much. Does anybody else from the public want to voice an opinion on our proposed ordinance concerning tax increment financing? Hearing none, is there any other business anybody would like to bring forward concerning the proposed ordinance during this public hearing? Then the next motion would be to close the public hearing. So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.